Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another video from Change Tips and Tools. This video is part one of the resource capacity planning series with me, Phil, the Brummie that hails from Birmingham, England. I will go through this training series as requested as an end-to-end project, not skipping any detail, and I will walk you through step by step on how to build this template for yourself. Now, if you can't wait until the end of this training series, you can get a copy of the completed template on the Change Tips and Tools Patreon. Now, the purpose of today's video is to create the base static data tables of this resource capacity planning template, and by the end of this video you will have learned some new tricks with Excel functions and Power Query. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to create the static data part, i.e. the base tables. So we're going to look at the portfolio category static data, the cross-reference table, and when we're doing the cross-reference table I'm going to show you how to create some dependent drop-downs that you've probably not seen before or seen a way of doing it in this manner. So I'll show you that little trick a little bit later on in the video. And over here we'll create some skill set information, some planned leave types here, and more interestingly is I'll show you through Power Query how to create a calendar, a base calendar from just 2 dates, and I'll show you how to do that in Power Query. I've already given you a few ways of doing it, but this is another one which I particularly like the best, and I'll show you that. And obviously then we'll create the national holidays table as well. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So without further ado, let's do this. Here we are, a completely blank Excel spreadsheet. All I've done is I've saved it as resource capacity planning template, and I've saved this to my machine. It's got auto save on. So what we're going to do first is we are going to create our static data tab and all the tables that we require for our static data. So first of all, let's do our categories table. So I need priority, and I need category as my 2 columns for that, for my category table. Then we're going to need, and I'm going to create some spaces as well between the tables. So this will be my category table. I then want our programs table. And what I'm going to do is I want 10 categories in here. So I'm going to use the sequence function just to help me visually ensure that I've got enough space in the table. So I'm going to do equals sequence. So I want 10 categories. So I'm going to do 10 in my rows piece and hit return. So there are my 10 there. So I'm going to put 10 there. I'm then going to go for my programs and portfolios. So again, I want 20 programs. So I'm going to do equals sequence. I'm going to do 20. And there you go. So I want programs here. Okay, let's expand that out a little bit. Then I'm going to want the actual projects. So if I do projects there, and again, sequence, I want 40 projects. There we go, 40. Right, let's start with these first then. So these are going to be numbers, so priority. Category, I'm going to use the window sign. So I'm going to do the window sign and the semicolon to bring up my emojis. And I'm going to use that one for mandatory. So that's going to be my first one. Space. Mandatory. Like so. So now I've got some data in there. So that's going to be a number and no decimal places. That's my formatting. So I'm going to do Control T, and it's going to be from B4. Just include the sequence there, and I'm going to click OK, like so, and that's fine. So now let me put my categories, or I'll put the data in there. Anyway, let's just get these tables going. So I've got program A, it's going to be the first one. So I'm just putting the first line of data in here so I can just set the format like so. And again, that's just going to be general. So I'm going to do Control T. And again, because I've put the sequence here, that's why it's picking up column E. So I'm going to do that for F. Just change that, and it has headings like so, and click OK. Right. Now the thing that we're going to do here is that we're going to give this some meaningful names here. So again, remember, I'm OCD about naming your tables so you know what they are. So I'm going to call this one table, so TBL port category, and hit return. This one I'm going to call table program, TBL. So again, on the table design, TBL program. So there's my first two tables. Now the projects. So let's just do project 1. So I've got data in there. Again, if I get rid of the sequence here, like so, look what happens now. If I do Control T, picks it up fine, and there you go. But I do want it to do the formatting all the way down. So I'm going to do equals sequence again. We want 40 here. I'm going to hit return. And then again, I'm going to do Control T. Table has headings, but I'm just going to do it from, change that H to an I. And click OK, and there you go. So I've now got my project table as well. So I'm going to do TBL projects and hit return. Right, so let me just populate these three tables here. And there we go. So I've now populated those three tables with the data that I want. In fact, I wanted that to be 50, didn't I? Not 40 in the original that we did. So again, if I just tab that all the way down, boom. Right. So there I've got my three tables that I've done. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to make that and that a little bit thinner, bring them together like so. I'm going to make sure that all these, because remember the default on any spreadsheet is going to be protected as far as the protection, but I want people to interact with these tables. So I'm just going to highlight all the cells like so within the table. I'm going to do Control 1, and on the protection I'm just going to take the locked off. So when we do eventually protect these sheets, they can only interact with the table space itself. And if I click OK, and on this particular table I don't want any data filter on it, so I'm going to take those off. And again on this I don't want any data filter, so on the data tab I'm just going to untick the auto filter. And same with the projects, I'm going to untick the auto filter like so. Now, one of the things I'm going to do on here as well while I'm here is I'm going to change my color theme to be blue 2, like so. Now, so this makes up my portfolio category static data. So I'm going to just label this accordingly. Portfolio. Data. I'm then going to select these cells, all these cells here, do Control-1. I'm not going to merge them. I'm going to do alignment, and I'm going to align, text align horizontally across selection, so it then centers it across that selection. And then on the home ribbon, I'm just going to make that bold, and I'm going to give it a grey fill, like so. Wonderful. Right. And again, this here and this here, I'm just going to shrink it down a little. And there you go. So that's my first 3 tables done. Now we need to create a cross-reference to these tables. So I need to create a cross-reference table to say how the program, so which programs do the project belong to, and also which category do the projects belong to. So we're going to do that in our cross-reference table. And again, within here, we're going to have a sequence. So it's going to be a total of 50 projects that we need to create a sequence to. So if I do equals sequence, so it's not 40, it's 50. So if I do 50, there's my sequence number. So the first column is going to be program. The second column will be the project. And the third column will be the category. Now, on this, I want to be able to do a drop down. We're going to use data validation, but we're going to use the sort and filter functionality on this. So let me just call this tab static data. So it's always the first one that we do. So I'm going to rename that and call it 1 dot, and then do static data like so. And I'm going to right click on that tab. I'm going to change the tab color to be red here. I'm then going to add another tab, and this will be our static data support tab. Yeah. So I'm going to hit the plus sign here, and I'm going to call this, rename it static data support. So one of the first things that I want to do is that I want to have a filter, a drop down on the programs. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm not going to use the indirect function like I've done in previous videos. So let's do some drop downs here. So this is going to be my program drop down. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to use the filter function. So I'm going to go equals filter. In fact, no, I don't need the filter function. All I need is the sort. So sort is going to be, the table is going to be table program. And the column is going to be programs. And if I do close that down, and there you go. So now I've got the sort here is, I am going to put a filter in there because I don't want no zeros there. So I'm going to do filter within there. So that's going to be my array. I'm going to include table program, open bracket for the column, where it does not equal empty, which is just 2 quotation marks. Then I'm going to close that bracket. like so. So I've now got the filter wrapped in a sort, and if I hit return, and now it's sorted in order and it doesn't include the blanks. So now I've got that like so. So if I go back to my static data, and on this first, on the program, on the first row of this table, it's going to be the table, I'm going to do data validation, and I'm going to do a list, and then my source is I'm going to direct it to this first cell here of this list, this dynamic list array. Yeah, and I'm going to put a hash, so it includes all of the filtered array there, and then click OK. So now that then shows me the list of what's in here, and it'll be dynamic. So as I add more programs here, then obviously this will change. Now the next piece here is I want the project to also be a drop down from here, but I only want to create a relationship once. I can't have multiple relationships. So project one, for example, can't be related to all of these programs. So as soon as you relate it to a program, I want it to be removed from the drop down. And the way that I'm going to do that, so if I just put program A here for a second, let's make that a little bit bigger. Again, if I go to my support, so I'm going to have, so let's put projects. So I'm going to have up to 50. So if I do equals, again, just so I can see it visually, 50, like so. I'm then going to sort my projects. So I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to do the filter first. My array is going to be projects, and I want that column like so. The include piece is, again, I'm going to do the same thing, table, projects. I'm going to open bracket projects where it does not equal a blank with the quotation marks. If I hit return, then all I'm going to do then is just wrap that in a sort as well. So if I go sort, boom, so it's now sorted. Then I want to check if it's been used. Yep. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my static data, and I'm going to create this table early. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control T. It has headings, and I'm going to do from L, and I'm going to do it from L4 to N4. I'm just going to change that. So I just want the first row here and do OK, like so. As you can see, I've done the formatting there. So if I just delete that there and do data validation, because I put it in the wrong place. That was clever of me. I'm going to do data validation, and I'm going to do clear all. Right. So in here, again, I'm going to do data validation in the right row, because I need to do it from the first row so it then copies it all the way down. So I'm going to do data validation, list from my programs, select that first cell there, do a hash, so it includes the spill range, and click OK. Right, that works. Then here, as far as my data validation on this table, and I'm going to call this table cross-reference. Yeah, I need to give it a meaningful name. So I will call this on the table design TBL portfolio XFR for cross-reference and hit return like so. Now with that done, is I'm going to go into this piece here, and what I want to check is, does this appear within that XFR table? So if I go equals, I'm going to do a count if, and the range that I'm going to check is going to be table portfolio XFR project. That's what I'm counting, and my criteria is going to be this cell here. Yeah. And then if I close that bracket, so at the moment it's giving me a 0. Now what I want to do here is that if that count is greater than 0, then I'm going to set that value to yes. Otherwise I'm going to set it to no. And then hit return. So now it's saying it hasn't found that. Then the last check I want to do, because as you can see I've got some blanks down here, is I'm going to go to if this cell does not equal blank, then do the test. Otherwise, just leave it blank. And then I'm just going to copy that all the way down. And there you go. And as far as my filter's concerned then, so if I do my project drop down here, is I want to include, so I'll go equals filter. So my array is going to be this cell, this here, all the way down to the bottom, to the 50 there. And my include is going to be this here, where it equals no. And I'm going to close that bracket. So if I hit then return, you can now see it's showing all of them there. So if I then go to my static data and do data in the project row here and do data validation, do list, and this time I'm going to point it to this drop down list here. Again, do hash, so it's got the spill range. Click OK. So now when I do this and I go project 1, if I go over to the static data support tab, you can now see that project 1 has disappeared from the drop down because it's now being filtered. So that's how that works. Let's look at the category. On this one, we'll do another drop down on category. So I'll go into my static data report. So I'll keep it all based on these overspill array functions here. So let's do category drop down. And then I'm going to do equals filter. The array is going to be table portfolio categories. I'll do the category like so. And it's where the table portfolio category So don't want any blanks. Does not equal some. I return, and there we go. So go back to my static data on this cross-reference table, and I do data validation. I'm going to do list, and I'm going to point it to that overspill. There, do the hash, so it includes all the data, and click OK. So now I've got the categories, so we'll go with regulatory on that one. So now, as I tab down, it'll create a row. So let's do program A again, and this time let's start. We want project 2. Let's make that regulatory also. So start typing in the drop down and it'll filter it out automatically. And there you go. So let me populate the rest of this table. And there you go, all done. So I've done it down to the last project that we've got there, and I've included some blanks here as well to add any more. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to expand that out so it fits like so. Wonderful. So that works. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Okay. And then here I'm just going to add a label. Cross table. Highlight that. Control 1. Alignments. So align it across the center, across a selection horizontally. Click OK. Make that bold, and let's fill it with grey, like so. Wonderful. So that's our second table on static data now done. Next, we need to create some resource static data for our resource sheet when we create that. So again, I'm going to do skill set. So we need to say what skill set the resources belong to, so we can group on that. And I'm also going to want a type of leave as well, and I'm going to have 2 in there, which is planned leave and unplanned leave, and we're going to use that for our resource capacity calendar, so for their holidays or unplanned leave, i.e. illness. So I'm just going to type it. Let's call it what I called it before, which was type, like so. And then here I'm just going to put the first skill in. Project manager. Let's make that a bit bigger. Let's put these in. Planned leave and unplanned leave, like so. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's do Control T on this, turn it into a table. Yep, it has headers. Let's call this TBL skill sets, like so, and hit return. And I want to create 10 skill sets here, or have the ability to create 10 skill sets. So again, I'm going to do the sequence formula just to save time typing things out. There you go. Again, if I just put that down to there, and let me add some other skill sets to this. That'll do for now. Expand that. Now let's call this, turn it into a table, so Control T again. Yes, it has headers. And here we'll call this table, on table design, TBL, capacity, types, like so. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a label up here and call this the resource static data return. And I'm going to do Control-1, so I'll line that across, center across the selection, click OK, make it bold, and again fill it with that heading. So let's just make some of these a little bit narrower here. Done. So now we've done our resource static data. The last thing that I want to do on here is that, well, there's two more things, which is important. First, we've got to say, well, what period of time or date range is this resource capacity planner going to cover? So we need the user to be able to define that. So let's do that with a start, finish. Let's make it initially from the 1st of January 2024 to the 31st of January 2024. And I'm going to show you a trick how to create a whole calendar. So I've shown you a number of ways how to create a base calendar. I'm now going to show you another trick in Power Query within this video, how to create a base calendar just from those two dates there. So let's call this, turn this into a table, do Control T. We're only ever going to have one row here. So it's going to have headings. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And let's give this a label. I'm going to call it calendar stroke period. That's plan covers. Just to make that clear. And again, let's do Control-1. Center that across the selection. Make it bold, and let's give it another. Again, it's going to make that stick out a little bit more. In fact, let's just make them both. By selecting both, if I adjust one, they'll both adjust equally then, as in the same. Right, so I've now got my, that in the middle, and I'm going to put that in the middle like so. So that's my base calendar, for want of a better word. The last thing I want to create on it here is the national holidays, for my country. So for the UK, these are going to be our bank holidays. So I'm going to create, move it over a little bit, bank holidays, a description of what that is. And let me just put the first one in there. So I do want to create, let's say, 20 of these. So again, that is going to be the date. And that's just going to be a description. Let's give that case D. And let's make that a little bit wider so we can fit some stuff in there. Good. Now let me put the first one in there. So we want to. So the first one is going to be New Year's Day, like so. And if I do Control T, make this a table, and then let's call this table on the table design tab TBL bank holes for short, and return. And again, what I'm going to do is just put some text in here, call this national holidays. Control-1, again, let's center it horizontally across that selection. There you go. So let's add some more holidays to this. So there's some more holidays. I think we're going to allow at least 20 in here. So again, do sequence 20. Boom. And then we just tab all the way down. Right. So let's clear this row here. Make that narrower. Make that narrower. And there you go. So I've got all my static data here. So what I want to do now on all these tables, I'm just going to highlight them all. And I want people to be able to, when I protect this sheet, so to protect the format, I want them to be able to make changes in these tables. I edit the information. So let's do those first. Do Control 1, Protection tab, and just take the lock off. Remember, it's always defaulted as lock when you first start with a spreadsheet. So those are all now unlocked. So when we protect these sheets, they'll be available to edit. These I'm going to leave as locked, so I don't want them changing those. These they need to be able to change. And then this, they will need to be able to change, like so. So I'm going to do Control 1. Again, take that locked tick off. So when we protect the sheet, people can interact with these. I'm also going to take these filters off the table. So with the table selected, I'm going to go to the Data tab and just unselect this auto filter here. So again, just take it off. And that's the national holidays. Right. So that's our base static data. So the next thing we're going to do, I won't do any of the formatting in this video, is the next thing I'm going to show you is how to create a base calendar in Power Query just from these two dates. So with this table selected in here, anywhere in that table, I'm going to go to the Data ribbon, from Table and Range, like so. And I'm just going to change both of these to be dates and replace current. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to create a list, and I'm going to use the list functionality. So I'm going to add a custom column. So I'm going to select custom. I'm going to call this date. Now to identify a list, just to demonstrate, is you do the squiggly line. So if I go squiggly line 1 and then do 2 full stops to signify a 2, and do 5 like so, and then do a close squiggly line, and if I hit OK, is if I click in that field, you can see there's a list of numbers from 1 to 5. So if you take that principle, yeah, so if I go into there, and over on the right hand side, whenever you've done something, you click the cog, I can go back into edit that. So what I'm going to do is replace this, so do squiggly line. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to do number from. So start typing number, and I want this function here. So I've got number from, and then I'm going to do an open square bracket, and I'm going to choose start. So I want number from, like so. Now, syntax slightly wrong there, because I need to do an open bracket, and then I can just select start and then close that bracket with that parentheses. Now for me as a Brummie, it's easier for me to say bracket. So that's the way I've done it. I'm going to do those 2 full stops, and then I'm going to do number from. So again, select that, and this time correctly select the open bracket, then select finish, and there we go. It should, with that done, should be fine. And what it's saying there is it's noticed I haven't closed the bracket off there. So if I do, there you go. And now the syntax is fine. So if I click OK, I then click in this list, you'll see there's a bunch of numbers. Now these numbers are the Excel code for the date, because dates are in fact just numbers. So what I'm going to do now is, with these two outward facing arrows, I'm going to click that and I'm going to say expand that list out to make new rows, like so. And then I'm just going to change this to be on home, change it to be a date, and now it recognises it as a date. So as you can see, it's now created a list of dates from the 1st of January to the 31st of January. So I no longer need these two columns now, and remember it's recording these steps here. So I'm going to right click and say remove other columns. So I've now got the date here. So with that date selected, I'm going to do add column, and I'm going to go over to here from a date and time, and I'm going to select year. I'm then going to select the date again. I'm going to add another column. I'm going to call the month number. And then finally what I'm going to do is I want the day value. So I'm going to go date again from a date and time, and I'm going to select here name of day, like so. And then with this selected, I am going to transform. So using the transform tab, I am going to extract, and I'm going to select the extract drop down, and I want the first character. So I'm going to select that, and I want the first 3 characters, like so, and click OK. Wonderful. So now we've done all the things that we want. I'm going to call this calendar. I think it'll be simple. So I'll call this calendar, like so. Hit return. And then I'm going to do, on the home ribbon, do close and load to. I'm going to create a connection only. I'm also going to add it to my data model, like so, and click OK. Boom. So I've now got 31 rows loaded there. And if I change this date to be, say, the 31st of July. Now I don't want that row there, so what I'm going to do is delete that row. And if I do data refresh all, watch this row count. It's now got 213 rows. So it's now created a calendar from the 1st of January to the 31st of July. Boom. So let's make that now the 31st of December, which is what we'll be working with in our example. Because I haven't protected this, it keeps adding that row there, which is a little bit annoying. But again, if I then do data, refresh all, boom, it's got all the days. I'm just in a leap year, here, so an extra day in Feb. Anyway, so there we've created the static data. The next thing we'll do is we will look at resources, and we'll look at the resources in the next video. So I hope you found this helpful, and you've learnt some new tricks, especially with those independent drop downs and how to use your array formulas with the data validation, and also that trick I've just shown you on how to create a calendar with just 2 dates in Power Query. If you found it informative, please remember to hit the like, subscribe, and hit that notifications button for future content. and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, where we'll then look at resourcing and resource capacity. So I wish you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Please take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video of this series. Bye bye now.